"Put down the axes," Duke Edmund ordered. Snow covered his black coat as he entered the ruined ballroom. Crystal chandeliers still burned above 200 royal guests, but the musicians had stopped playing. The banquet tables had become hospital beds. Servants were cutting apart the silk curtains. At the center of the room, Duchess Rosamund stood beside a hole torn through the polished floor. "You are destroying the foundation of Ashbourne Hall." She raised one hand. Everyone became silent. From beneath the ballroom came 3 faint knocks, then 3 more. Rosamund looked at her husband. 46 miners are trapped below us. The main shaft is 2 miles from this house. The main shaft is buried. Edmund approached the opening and examined the cracked stone beneath the floorboards. "If you remove that support, the western wing may collapse." Rosamund handed him the second axe. "Then tell me which support we can remove." Another series of knocks came through the stone. This time, weaker. Edmund removed his coat. "Clear the room." 6 hours earlier, Ashbourne Hall had been prepared for the grandest evening it had hosted in 20 years. Winter roses covered the columns. Hundreds of candles reflected from the chandeliers. A London orchestra rehearsed beneath the western balcony, while servants arranged silver dishes along tables covered in white silk. The Royal Railway Commission was expected before sunset. If Edmund secured its contract, Ashbourne would supply coal and metal for a new northern railway. The income could preserve the estate, keep Black Hollow Mine operating, and prevent hundreds of families from losing their work. Rosamund understood why the evening mattered. What she did not understand was why Edmund had refused to show her the estate's complete accounts. For months, he had spoken of temporary restrictions, postponed repairs, and delayed investments. He had never admitted how close Ashbourne stood to financial collapse. Rosamund had asked repeatedly for a second escape shaft at Black Hollow. The miners had asked too. Edmund never rejected the proposal. He simply delayed it. After the contract, he said. After the winter. After the bank renewed its credit. Rosamund had begun to hate the word after. She crossed the ballroom while musicians tested their instruments. Lady Cecily Vale, Edmund's younger sister, followed with a guest list. "Lord Malcolm is bringing 3 additional representatives," Cecily said. "We must add another table. Place it near the eastern wall." The eastern wall has no clear view of the orchestra. They are here to negotiate a railway contract, not inspect the violinists. Cecily lowered the list. "This evening must appear effortless. Nothing requiring 400 candles, 12 courses, and 200 guests is effortless." Cecily smiled despite herself. A low vibration passed through the floor. One violinist stopped playing. Rosamund looked down. "Did you feel that?" "A carriage arriving," Cecily said. The vibration came again. 3 short beats. A pause. 3 more. Rosamund knelt and placed her gloved palm against the polished wood. The rhythm was too precise for wheels. "Stop the orchestra." The conductor lowered his baton. The room became quiet. Nothing happened. Then the sound returned. 3 knocks beneath the floor. Cecily's expression changed. "What is that?" Rosamund stood. "Someone is striking stone. There are no rooms beneath the ballroom. Not on the household plans." Before Cecily could answer, shouting came from the entrance hall. Servants carried Elias Ward through the doors on a wooden board. Snow covered his coat. Blood had soaked through the cloth around his leg. Rosamund crossed the room. "What happened?" "The western gallery at Black Hollow collapsed," Elias said. "Snow brought down the upper entrance. The main shaft is sealed." "How many men were below?" 46. The ballroom became completely still. "Are they alive?" Cecily asked. "We heard signals through the drainage pipe before the lower passage failed." Rosamund looked towards the floor. The knocking. Elias followed her gaze. "The old water tunnel. You said it was closed. It was sealed beneath the estate decades ago. But one branch may run under the western foundation. How long can they survive?" Elias's silence answered before he spoke. "The ventilation shaft is blocked. 6 hours if the pocket remains stable, less if fire damp is entering." Cecily looked towards the decorated ballroom. "The rescue crews are at the mine. The main entrance is buried beneath 30 feet of stone and frozen soil," Elias said. "They will need 2 days." Rosamund removed her gloves. "We do not have 2 days." She ordered the orchestra to stop, the kitchen to prepare hot water, and every unused room on the western side to be cleared. Cecily caught her arm. "The Royal Commission is already on the road. Then they will arrive at a rescue. If we cancel tonight, Ashbourne may lose the contract. If those men die beneath our house while we continue dancing, Ashbourne deserves to lose it." Rosamund ordered the servants to move the banquet tables into rows. Dr. Agnes Merritt arrived from the village infirmary within 30 minutes. She examined Elias, then took command of the medical preparations. "No open flames near the excavation," she said. "Not even candles. If gas reaches the ballroom, one spark could ignite it." Servants began extinguishing chandeliers above the western half of the room. Agnes pointed towards the silk curtains. "Cut them into strips. I need bandages, slings, and ventilation tubes." A footman hesitated. "Those were ordered from Paris." Rosamund pulled a knife from the dinner table and cut through the first curtain herself. The fabric fell around her. "Now they are bandages." The servants followed. Cecily watched the transformed ballroom with increasing alarm. "What do you intend to do?" "Find the tunnel. We have no complete plan. We have 46 men knocking beneath us." Rosamund moved across the floor, stopping at different points. The sound appeared strongest near the center of the ballroom. She ordered the rugs removed. Beneath them lay polished oak marked with the Ashbourne crest. No servant would strike it. Rosamund took an axe from a groundskeeper. She swung once. The blade split the center of the family emblem. Cecily gasped. Rosamund struck again. By the 4th blow, servants joined her. The Royal Commission arrived as the first section of flooring was removed. Edmund entered with Lord Malcolm Greaves and several government representatives behind him. He stopped beneath the chandelier. The ballroom he had prepared for negotiation no longer resembled a place of celebration. Musicians carried timbre instead of instruments. Noble guests stood against the walls, while kitchen workers filled buckets. White tablecloths had become dressings. Silk curtains lay torn across the floor. At the center of it all, Rosamund stood beside the opening. "Put down the axes," Edmund ordered. Rosamund silenced the room. The knocks came again. She told him about the collapse. Edmund knelt beside the opening and studied the stone beneath the floorboards. "This is a load-bearing section. It is also the only route we have. If you remove the wrong support, the western wing could collapse into the tunnel. Then show me which support we can remove." He looked at the axe she offered. Another knock sounded. Edmund removed his coat. "Clear the room." Lord Malcolm stepped forwards. "Your Grace, the Commission came to discuss the stability of Ashbourne's industrial operations." Edmund faced him. "Then you may begin by helping us save the men who operate them." Elias spread his damaged map across a banquet table. Only half the old drainage route remained visible. The line from Black Hollow divided near the estate hill, then vanished where the paper had burned. Edmund ordered a servant to bring the foundation plans from the archive. The documents contradicted one another. Ashbourne Hall had been expanded 4 times. Walls had shifted. Cellars had been filled. New foundations had been built across older tunnels without recording what lay below. Rosamund compared the plans. The sound is not directly beneath us. Edmund looked towards the hole. It is strongest here, because the iron pipe carries it. Elias nodded. The miners used the drainage pipe for signals. If we dig straight down, where do we reach? A flooded collection chamber. The workers stopped. Rosamund moved towards the orchestra platform. Strike the floor. A servant hit the boards with a wooden mallet. 3 answering knocks came from beneath the ballroom. Rosamund shifted 10 feet to the west and repeated the signal. The response was clearer. She continued across the floor, marking each position with chalk. One of the percussionists watched her. "The floor responds like a drum," he said. Rosamund turned. "Bring me the largest one." The musician rolled the concert drum across the ballroom. They placed it on the floor and struck a slow rhythm. The response below changed, depending on its position. By comparing the sound at each point, they traced the buried pipe towards the western stage. "The tunnel is beneath the orchestra," Rosamund said. Elias examined the remaining plan. "That places them beyond the old furnace foundation." Edmund looked at the stage. The Ashbourne crest had been carved into the wood above it. A mechanical music cabinet from his grandfather's time stood at the rear. The western balcony rested on 2 supports below. "We removed the stage," he said. Cecily stared at him. "The entire platform." The entire platform. 200 guests remained trapped by the snowstorm. No carriage could safely leave the estate. Rosamund divided them into working groups. Former officers managed ropes and lifting equipment. Physicians assisted Agnes. The musicians used drums to send signals below. Noble women cut linen, prepared blankets, and wrote the names of the missing miners. Lord Malcolm resisted when Rosamund assigned his secretary to carry timber. These men are representatives of the crown. Tonight they are men with working hands. Edmund looked at Malcolm. "Anyone wishing to discuss the value of Ashbourne coal may first help bring home the people who produce it." Malcolm removed his gloves. "What do you require?" "Move those beams." The ballroom changed again. Titles became irrelevant beside the opening in the floor. The stage was dismantled piece by piece. Edmund personally removed the carved Ashbourne crest. Rosamund watched him set it aside without ceremony. Below the platform, they discovered an iron-lined shaft. Agnes lowered a small caged bird into the opening. The bird stopped singing almost immediately. "Gas," she said. "No lamps below." They extinguished the remaining nearby candles. The rescue area fell into dim light, supplied by protected lanterns placed beyond the doors. Rosamund ordered the torn curtains sewn into long fabric tubes. Kitchen bellows and theatre fans forced fresh air through them into the shaft. After 20 minutes, the bird began moving again. Only then did Elias allow the excavation to continue. The workers broke through the first stone barrier. Cold air escaped from below. Then the floor gave way. 2 men disappeared through the opening. A rope snapped tight around one worker's waist, leaving him suspended. The other fell into darkness. Edmund dropped beside the hole. "Thomas." A faint answer came from below. "Alive." Rosamund organized the ropes, while Edmund descended far enough to secure the trapped worker. The fallen man had landed on a narrow ledge above a flooded chamber. Rosamund directed the lifting team. "Pull together." Not quickly. The rope rose inch by inch. A crack spread across the ballroom ceiling. Lord Malcolm looked upwards. The wing is shifting. Edmund reached the edge with the rescued worker. Move everyone from the balcony. Rosamund did not order the excavation abandoned. She ordered the balcony dismantled. While workers removed the seats and railings, Edmund pulled Rosamund aside. There is something you do not know. Then choose the shortest version. The bank refused the final loan for the mine repairs. Rosamund stared at him. When? 4 months ago. You told me the inspection had been delayed. It was delayed because we had no money to complete the work. And the second escape shaft? Impossible without the railway contract. You continued winter operations knowing there was no secondary exit. If I closed Black Hollow, 800 people lost their wages before Christmas. So you gambled that the old supports would survive. I intended to repair them after tonight. Rosamund's expression hardened. After the contract. After winter. After one more shift. Edmund said nothing. When this is over, she continued, there will be no account, inspection report, or debt hidden from me again. You have my word. I had it before. The word struck harder than anger. Rosamund turned back towards the shaft. The men below require us now. Our marriage can wait. The first narrow opening into the miner's chamber was completed shortly before midnight. A voice came through the gap. Can you hear us? Rosamund knelt beside it. We hear you. My name is Arthur Bell. We have 46 men. 9 cannot walk. Are you able to move the others? For now. We will bring out 37. Then return for 9. Arthur was silent for a moment. Do not seal the passage after the first group. We will not. A small hauling basket was lowered. The first miner emerged unconscious, his face blackened with coal dust. Agnes and her assistants carried him to a banquet table. The second man could stand. The third had a broken arm. Each person's name was written on the back of a royal invitation card before he was taken to the medical area. 18 miners were brought into the ballroom. Families waited behind the doors, listening for familiar names. Then the mountain shifted. A violent impact traveled through the tunnel. The hauling rope went slack. Stone collapsed beneath the stage. Edmund, Rosamund, and Elias were standing in the lower passage when the roof fell between them and the ballroom. Dust filled the darkness. Above them, Cecily screamed Rosamund's name. No answer passed through the fallen rock. Elias examined the collapse by touch. The route back is sealed. From deeper inside the mine came Arthur's voice. The gas is getting worse. Edmund looked towards the blocked passage behind them, then towards the darkness ahead where 9 injured miners remained. Which way? He asked. Rosamund tightened the rescue rope around her waist. We finish what we opened. The collapse sealed the passage behind them. Dust filled Rosamund's mouth and eyes. Edmund pulled her away from the fallen stone as another section of roof dropped where she had been standing. Elias pressed one hand against the wall. Do not move. Everyone became still. The timber supports creaked in the darkness. A thin stream of coal dust fell from above Edmund's shoulder, then stopped. Elias released his breath. The roof is holding for now. How long? Edmund asked. It does not know we are in a hurry. Arthur Bell appeared beyond the weak beam of an enclosed safety lamp. Coal blackened his face. A strip of cloth covered his mouth. You brought out 18, he said. 28 remain, Rosamund replied. 9 cannot walk. The others can move if the passage stays clear. Edmund turned towards the collapsed route. Can we reopen the way to the ballroom? Not from this side, without bringing down the roof, Elias said. The pressure is resting on those stones. Arthur pointed deeper into the tunnel. The old furnace channel may lead beneath the western fireplace. Elias shook his head. It was closed before I began working here. Then, it may still be more open than the route behind us. A miner coughed violently. Another sank against the wall. Rosamund smelled something beneath the coal and damp timber. Faint, sweet, dangerous. Gas. Arthur nodded. It has been building since the ventilation shaft collapsed. Edmund looked towards the remaining men. How much air? Not enough to debate every choice. Rosamund tightened the rope around her waist. Take us to the furnace channel. Above them, Cecily knelt beside the collapsed opening. Rosamund. No answer came through the stone. Dr. Agnes stopped her from leaning farther into the hole. The roof may collapse again. My brother and sister are below. And shouting will not move the rock. Cecily stood, fighting panic. Lord Malcolm approached with several workers. We must evacuate the western wing. If everyone leaves, who will pull them out? If the foundation falls, everyone in this room dies. Cecily looked across the ruined ballroom. 18 rescued miners lay on banquet tables. Families waited in the entrance hall. Musicians, servants, and royal guests stood covered in dust. Rosamund had turned them into a rescue team. Cecily would not allow fear to turn them back into spectators. Clear the balcony and the rooms above us, she ordered. Everyone not carrying equipment or treating the injured leaves the western wing. Malcolm stared at her. You do not have authority over the commission. No, but the Duchess placed me in charge of this room. She is trapped beneath it. Then I suggest we remain useful until she returns. Malcolm removed his formal coat. What do you need? Cecily looked towards the estate plans. Find another route into the old furnace channel. The passage beneath the mine narrowed until Edmund had to turn sideways. Arthur led the group past cracked supports and abandoned carts. 28 miners waited in an old drainage chamber. Several sat with their backs against the wall to conserve strength. 9 injured men lay on coats spread across the ground. One had a shattered leg. Another struggled to breathe beneath broken ribs. The oldest miner was unconscious. Rosamund moved among them, checking names and injuries. We are taking everyone. Arthur looked at the narrow tunnel behind her. The stretchers will not pass. Then we widen it. If we cut those supports, the roof comes down. Edmund examined the timber frame. Can we replace each support before removing the next? With what wood? Elias asked. Rosamund looked towards the broken mining carts. The axles. They are too short. The ballroom floorboards. Edmund followed her gaze towards the rope disappearing through the darkness behind them. The line they had used during the first rescue still ran beneath the collapse. It might remain connected to the people above. He pulled. Twice. Nothing. Then he pulled 3 times. The rope tightened in response. They are still there, he said. Rosamund knotted a small metal tag to the line. Elias scratched instructions onto it with a nail. Send short timbers. Furnace channel. No flame. Edmund pulled the rope repeatedly. The tag disappeared beneath the fallen stones. Cecily felt movement in the line. Everyone. Quiet. The rope scraped against the edge of the shaft. A metal tag appeared. Elias's message was difficult to read beneath the dust. Lord Malcolm examined the plans. The furnace channel runs beneath the western fireplace. Cecily looked towards the enormous marble hearth on the far side of the ballroom. Remove it. A steward stepped forwards. My lady, That fireplace supports the chimney stack. Then brace the stack before you remove it. Workers brought beams from the dismantled balcony. The musicians carried the strongest stage supports across the room. Former officers used carriage jacks to hold the stone arch, while masons attacked the marble with hammers. Cecily ordered short sections of ballroom flooring tied to the rescue rope. One bundle after another vanished beneath the collapsed shaft. The polished boards that had carried generations of dancers now traveled underground to keep miners alive. Rosamund received the first timber. Arthur and Elias built a replacement frame inside the narrow passage. They worked one section at a time. A damaged support was cut away. A ballroom beam took its place. The opening widened by several inches, enough for a stretcher, but only if carried low. The miners prepared the first injured man. Edmund moved towards the furnace channel. A metal plate blocked the far end. At its center was an old turning mechanism with a missing locking pin. Elias examined it. The plate opens into the foundation chamber beneath the western fireplace. "Can we turn it?" Edmund asked. "Not without securing the spindle. The locking pin has rusted away." Edmund searched the floor. No loose metal. Rosamund touched the mechanism. "The pin needs only to hold during the first turn." "It must fit tightly," Elias said. Edmund looked at his hand. The signet ring carried the thick gold seal of Ashbourne. He removed it. Rosamund understood immediately. That ring belonged to 6 dukes, and none of them require it tonight. He forced the ring into the locking slot. The gold bent under the pressure. Elias inserted the lever. "Once we turn this, the plate may not close again." "Good," Rosamund said. "We do not intend to remain here." All 3 pushed. The spindle resisted. Edmund's ring flattened inside the mechanism. Then the plate shifted. A breath of cold air entered the tunnel. Somewhere beyond it, hammers struck stone. Cecily's team had found the opposite side. The first injured miner was carried into the furnace passage. The tunnel was barely wide enough. Rosamund crawled ahead, guiding the stretcher around broken masonry. Edmund remained behind to organize the next group. Arthur insisted the walking miners leave before him. "You have held this group together for hours," Edmund said. "You go with them. I know which men are still below." "So do I." Arthur looked at the Duke's torn clothes and bloodied hands. "You have never worked this level." "No." "Then you do not know how quickly the roof speaks before it falls." Edmund glanced towards Rosamund. "My wife does." Arthur almost smiled. "Then listen when she tells you to run." The rescuers opened a narrow hole beneath the ballroom fireplace. Fresh air rushed into the tunnel. Agnes immediately stopped them from widening it. Slowly. If the gas concentration is high, a sudden draft may carry it into the room. She ordered the remaining protected lamps moved farther away. Wet cloths were placed around the opening. The ventilation tubes were redirected through the new passage. A miner's hand appeared between the stones. The ballroom erupted in relieved voices. "Quiet!" Agnes shouted. "We are not finished." The opening widened. Rosamund emerged first, covered in black dust. Cecily caught her shoulders. Edmund? Still below. How many? 27 after this man. Cecily looked towards the stretcher being lifted from the passage. The injured miner's leg was secured between 2 carved pieces of the Ashbourne crest. Rosamund pointed towards the ceiling. "How stable is the wing?" "Less stable than before." "Then remove the final balcony support." Lord Malcolm stepped forwards. "That beam carries the western gallery. It also blocks the angle needed to lift the stretchers. If we remove it, The entire ballroom may be lost. Rosamund looked at the miners waiting below. Then the ballroom is lost. Edmund sent the walking men through first. Each miner crawled into the furnace channel, followed the ventilation cloth, and emerged beneath the fireplace. The rescue total reached 30, then 34, then 37. The western ceiling dropped several inches. Cracks spread through the plaster. Cecily ordered everyone back except the lifting team and medical staff. The final balcony support had not yet been removed. Without it, the stretcher carrying the miner with broken ribs could not turn through the opening. Edmund appeared beneath the fireplace. Arthur and Elias are bringing the last injured men. Rosamund looked at the ceiling. We must take out the support. Edmund examined the beam. If it comes down badly, the gallery falls across this opening. If it stays, the stretchers cannot pass. He looked towards the polished ballroom that remained. The chandeliers, the carved walls, the family crest split across the floor. Then he took the axe from Rosamund. Everyone behind the eastern line. He struck the support. Rosamund joined him. The beam splintered. They struck again. On the third blow, the western gallery groaned. Workers pulled the guide ropes. The support fell away from the opening. The balcony dropped onto the ballroom floor, destroying the remaining stage and half the polished boards. But the furnace passage remained open. "Bring them through!" Rosamund shouted. The 38th miner arrived unconscious. Then the 39th. The man with shattered ribs stopped breathing as Agnes received him. She worked beside the broken fireplace until he coughed and drew a shallow breath. 40. 41. The roof beneath the mine shifted again. A blast of dust and gas traveled through the ventilation cloth. The caged bird collapsed. Agnes pointed towards the doors. "Clear the room." Rosamund refused to move. "How many remain?" 5. Edmund said. Arthur's voice came through the passage. "The rear chamber is failing." The pulling mechanism jammed. The rope carrying the next stretcher stopped halfway. Edmund crawled back into the furnace channel. Rosamund followed before anyone could stop her. They found the stretcher caught beneath a fallen brace. The injured miner could not be moved without lifting it. Edmund placed his shoulder beneath the timber. His previous injury gave way. He dropped to one knee. Rosamund took the other side. Together, they lifted. Arthur pulled the stretcher free. The brace slipped. Edmund pushed Rosamund ahead. As the timber crashed behind them, the route narrowed again, but remained open. 42. 43. 44. Elias emerged, supporting a miner with a broken ankle. Arthur followed with the oldest man across his shoulders. 45, Cecily counted. Rosamund stared into the opening. "Who remains?" Arthur turned. "Daniel Price." "He was behind us." A rumble answered from the tunnel. Edmund reached for the rope. Arthur stopped him. "The furnace channel is collapsing." Rosamund heard a faint scrape from below, not stone. A hand moving against the pipe. Daniel was still alive. She tied the rope around her waist. Edmund caught it. "You cannot go back. There is one man left. The roof will not hold." "Then hold the rope." Their eyes met. Months earlier, he would have ordered her away from danger. Now he understood that she had already chosen. He wrapped the rope around both arms. 3 pulls when you have him. Rosamund entered the passage. She found Daniel trapped behind a fallen board from the temporary supports. His face was grey, his breathing was weak. Rosamund removed the timber piece by piece. Above her, the stone began to crumble. She tied the rope around Daniel's chest and pulled 3 times. Edmund and the rescue team hauled. The miner moved towards the opening. Rosamund crawled behind him, pushing when the rope caught. The tunnel collapsed in sections around her. Daniel disappeared into the ballroom. Rosamund reached for the opening. The furnace plate shifted. Stone pinned the edge of her gown. Edmund climbed halfway into the passage, cut the fabric, and dragged her free. The western chimney collapsed moments later. The fireplace vanished beneath stone and dust. The rescue route was gone. Cecily checked the cards. 46. For several seconds, no one moved. Then the families waiting in the entrance hall began to understand. Every miner had been brought out. The ballroom ceiling cracked above them. Edmund lifted Rosamund to her feet. Now we leave. This time, she did not resist. Ashbourne Hall lost its western ballroom before sunrise. The balcony collapsed entirely. The chimney broke through the roof. The orchestra stage, carved floor and family emblems disappeared beneath rubble. No one died in the rescue. 9 miners remained in serious condition, but all survived the following week. The Royal Railway Commission suspended the original contract. Edmund accepted the decision without protest. Before the formal inquiry, he released Ashbourne's financial records and admitted that the second escape shaft had been postponed because of debt. "I intended to repair the mine when the estate could afford it," he said. "The men nearly paid for that delay with their lives." Black Hollow remained closed until 2 independent exits were constructed. The ventilation system was replaced. Iron supports were installed. Workers elected safety representatives. Elias received authority to stop operations. Rosamund gained full access to the estate accounts. A permanent medical station was established beside the mine. Lord Malcolm later offered Ashbourne a smaller railway contract under those conditions. It was less profitable than Edmund had hoped. It was enough to keep the estate operating safely. The ballroom was not restored to its former design. The new western hall had simple stone walls and a reinforced glass section in the floor. Beneath it, visitors could see the furnace passage through which the miners had been rescued. Edmund's crushed signet ring remained inside the old mechanism. He refused to remove it. 1 year after the collapse, the hall reopened. The surviving miners and their families entered first. Arthur Bell led the procession. Elias walked beside him with a cane. Agnes stood near the medical station she had helped establish. Rosamund joined Edmund beside the glass floor. He looked down at the tunnel. "I thought this room existed to prove our family belonged above everyone else. And now?" she asked. "Now it reminds me who has always stood beneath us." He handed her the key to the new estate council room. With it came the full quarterly accounts. No hidden debts. No postponed reports. No plans dependent upon an undefined after. The orchestra began playing. Edmund extended his hand. "May I have the first dance?" Rosamund looked towards the miners. "Only if they lead the procession." Edmund nodded. Arthur and his wife stepped onto the floor first. Other miners followed. Only then did Rosamund place her hand in Edmund's. They danced above the tunnel that had nearly buried them all, not to celebrate the survival of Ashbourne Hall, to remember why it had been worth breaking open.